North apa itu?
North Atlantic.
The North Atlantic Treaty Organization is an intergovernmental military alliance between several North American and European states. This alliance is based on the North Atlantic Treaty that was signed on April 4, 1949. And up to this day, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization consists of 29 independent member countries which spread across North America and Europe. An additional 21 other countries participate in NATO's program called Partnership for Peace. And another 15 countries are involved in institutionalized dialogue programs. Of all the members of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, 3 of them are a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council, or the UNSC. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization constitutes a system of collective defense, whereby its member states agree to a mutual defense in response to any attack by any external party. The NATO is widely known for its achievements during the Cold War as the representation of the Western Bloc. NATO is essentially the Western Bloc answer to the Eastern Bloc strength, which was led by the Warsaw Pact. Well, ladies and gentlemen, before we go into any further details, it is our turn to ask you a question. How familiar are you with the North Atlantic Treaty Organization?
North Atlantic Treaty Organization.
North Atlantic Treaty Organization.
North Atlantic Treaty Organization.
The North Atlantic Treaty Organization.
Tahu?
Ya, kembali lagi bersama kami, yaitu duo asumsi dari Hima Hayun 4. Ya, Hima ya, enggak sih?
Hima. Tahu sedikit-sedikit.
Aku tahu NATO itu kayak NATO tahu sedikit. Kalau sedikit.
Oh ya tahu.
Oh, NATO kurang lebih tahu sih.
Tahu.
North Atlantic Treaty Organization.
1, 2, 4. North Atlantic Treaty Organization.
Artinya tuh kepanjangannya tuh North Atlantic Treaty Organization.
Saya tahu. North Atlantic Treaty Organization.
NATO itu setahu saya singkatan dari North Atlantic Treaty Organization.
North Atlantic Treaty Organization.
NATO itu National Atlantic Treaty Organization.
North Atlantic Treaty Organization.
Ya sama kayak dia.
North Atlantic Treaty Organization.
Kok salam-salam buat Pak RT? Mas, masuk BP mas.
NATO itu organisasi internasional yang tujuan utamanya awalnya adalah untuk collective security dari negara-negara anggota melawan blok timur.
Kalau sepengetahuan orang, NATO itu adalah fakta pertahanan untuk negara-negara di Atlantik Utara.
Dan semasa Perang Dingin itu merupakan tandingannya dari Fakta Warsawa yang dibuat oleh Uni Soviet atau gitu.
Aku tahu NATO itu kayak organisasi internasional yang bergerak di bidang perdamaian, terus kayak menjaga untuk nggak ada perang kan.
Ini maksudnya sebagai fakta pertahanan militer itu di mana negara-negara yang tergabung menyatakan kekuatannya, alasannya adalah perdamaian, juga perdamaian. Tapi itu cuma semacam suatu lembaga di mana negara akan bertarung bersama-sama, suatu persatuan militer untuk kekuasaan, power, nggak begitu.
Pengetahuan saya, kalau misalkan sejarahnya, NATO itu dibentuk untuk menangkal paham komunisme yang menyebar dari blok timur atau blok Uni Soviet, Amerika dan sebetulnya ini bagaimana cara untuk ngeblok paham komunis ya bentuk itu namanya akar pertahanan Atlantik Utara. Di sisi lain di timur juga dibentukkan Fakta Warsawa. Jadi Amerika ini nggak mau kalah dengan Soviet sebenarnya.
Yang bertujuan untuk menjaga keamanan dan apa ya, memperkecil Atlantik gitu lah, pokoknya pada tahun 1949.
Wah, kalau tujuan spesifiknya saya kurang tahu, tapi perkiraannya sih menjaga perdamaian di bumi sebelah utara kayaknya.
Wah, awalnya yang dulu-dulu di blok barat.
Kalau anggotanya ada Amerika Serikat, ada Inggris, Prancis, Jerman, hampir semua negara-negara dari Uni Eropa. Mungkin sepengetahuan saya termasuk anggota NATO sih.
Sekitar 29 negara.
Kalau nggak salah anggotanya tuh ada 28. Itu tuh negara-negara di Amerika Utara sama di Eropa.
Inggris, Spanyol, Prancis, Turki, Norway.
Kalau nggak salah sih ada 28 negara. Setahu saya diantaranya Jerman, Prancis, Italia, Spanyol, Amerika Serikat, Albania, India. Itulah masih banyak. Udah itu aja.
Eropa, ya paling negara Eropa, Amerika, Kanada, sepertinya ya, pokoknya yang berhubungan dengan bumi utara aja, sebelah gitu.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it turns out that almost each and every one of you have a decent understanding of what the North Atlantic Treaty Organization is. But since we were all just a student, let's just bring the expert in then.
Are you sure about that?
The North Atlantic Alliance was founded in the aftermath of the Second World War. Its purpose was to secure peace in Europe, to promote cooperation among its members, and to guard their freedom. All of this in the context of countering the threat posed at the time by the Soviet Union. The Alliance's founding treaty was signed in Washington in 1949 by a dozen European and North American countries. It commits the Allies to democracy, individual liberty, and the rule of law, as well as to peaceful resolution of disputes. Importantly, the treaty sets out the idea of collective defense, meaning that an attack against one ally is considered as an attack against all allies. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO, ensures that the security of its European member countries is inseparably linked to that of its North American member countries. The organization also provides a unique forum for dialogue and cooperation across the Atlantic. The alliance started with 12 member countries in 1949. However, the founding treaty allows for other European nations to join the alliance as long as all existing allies agree. Any prospective member must share NATO's core values and have the capacity and willingness to contribute to security in the Euro-Atlantic area. Today, NATO has 29 members who are stronger and safer together. For almost 7 decades, NATO has ensured peace within its territory. While threats and the way NATO deals with them have evolved over time, the purpose, values and founding principles of the alliance do not change. For its first 4 decades, the Cold War defined the alliance. Collective defense was NATO's main role. When that confrontation ended in 1989, and with the collapse of the Soviet Union, some said that NATO had fulfilled its purpose, that it was no longer needed. And yet the alliance is still here today. So why has NATO stood the test of time? The end of the Cold War offered hope for progress and peace, but it also ushered in a new era of instability. NATO has responded to changes in the security environment by shifting its focus and taking on new tasks. Beyond ensuring the collective defense of its members, NATO seeks to promote security through partnership and cooperation. Since the early 1990s, the alliance has developed relations with non-member countries, including former Cold War adversaries of the former Eastern Bloc. Some of these partners have since become members of the alliance. Today, working with non-member countries and other organizations is considered to be one of NATO's fundamental tasks. It works with over 40 partner countries, as well as with other international organizations, like the United Nations and the European Union. NATO has taken on an important role in international crisis management since the end of the Cold War. Working closely with partner countries, the alliance helped to end war and build sustainable peace in the Balkans. In the wake of the 9/11 terrorist attacks on the United States, allies and partners deployed forces to Afghanistan to help bring stability. During the Arab Spring, NATO led an air campaign over Libya to protect civilians being targeted by the Gaddafi dictatorship. At sea, NATO and its partners have helped to prevent piracy off the Horn of Africa and are cooperating to fight terrorism in the Mediterranean Sea. NATO has also supported international efforts to stem illegal migration and human trafficking in the Aegean Sea. Today, we face a much broader range of threats than in the past. To the east, Russia has become more assertive with the illegal annexation of Crimea and destabilization of eastern Ukraine, as well as its military buildup close to NATO's borders. To the south, the security situation in the Middle East and Africa has deteriorated, causing loss of life, fueling large-scale migration flows, and inspiring terrorist attacks. NATO is responding by reinforcing its deterrence and defense posture, as well as supporting international efforts to project stability and strengthen security outside NATO territory. We are also confronted with the spread of weapons of mass destruction, cyber attacks, and threats to energy supplies, as well as environmental challenges with security implications. These challenges are too big for any one country or organization to handle on its own. So NATO is working closely with its network of partners to help tackle them. While NATO continues to adapt to changes in the security environment, the fundamentals of how it works haven't changed. Consensus and consultation are part of NATO's DNA. All member countries are represented in the North Atlantic Council, where decisions are taken by consensus, meaning unanimously, expressing the collective will of all the nations. There is no NATO army. National forces are under national command. When called upon, allied nations volunteer their troops, equipment, or other capabilities to NATO-led operations and exercises. Each member state pays for its own armed forces and covers the costs of deploying its forces. But together, the allies get a lot more security for a lot less cost than they would if they had to do it alone. Each member contributes a small percentage of its national defense budget to NATO. The national contributions pay for running the political and operational headquarters in Belgium, as well as the integrated military command structure across NATO territory. They also cover some of the costs of shared military capabilities, systems and facilities needed for communication, command and control, or for logistical support to NATO operations. Other multinational capability projects are funded by groups of allies. Thanks to years of joint planning, exercises and deployments, soldiers from different nations can work well together when the need arises. Working together, the allies are stronger.
Though it is true that the NATO does not have any army, but the combined forces of the alliance is definitely a massive firepower. And after the Cold War, in 1992, NATO's influence rose to prominence in Bosnia, where they stepped up their efforts to seal the deal. It took 46 years after NATO's inception in 1949 for the organization's first ever military intervention took place in 1995. Operation Deliberate Force was targeted to the army of Republika Srpska, who posed a danger to the UN safe areas. The operation finally led up to the birth of the Dayton Accords. Their operations in Bosnia ended in 2004, after a 9-year span of 3 joint peacekeeping operations was over. The NATO also held 2 operations on Serbia and Kosovo. On March 24, 1999, Operation Allied Force, which was an air campaign, took place in Serbia and Kosovo. The operation, which lasted for about 4 months, was aimed in getting the Serbs out of Kosovo. This operation gave birth to the Kumanovo Treaty, which ended the Kosovo War. In 2001, the Allied forces was once again on its feet when the September 11 tragedy happened to the United States. The attack involved the Article 5 of the North Atlantic Treaty, which regarded the attack as an attack to all NATO members, under the idea of collective defense. The Operation International Security Assistance Force, or ISAF, which was approved by the UNSC in the 1386 resolution, was the answer to the attack. This operation, which begins at December 2001 and ended on December 2014, was a security mission aimed to enforcing peace in Afghanistan. Another military base operations the NATO conducted was the 2011 Unified Protector Operation, which was mandated by the 1973 resolution of the UNSC. This operation was a campaign to protect civilians of Libya during the Arab Spring by enforcing a no-fly zone and implementing an arms embargo. Besides military or war-based operations, NATO is also taking responsibilities in some other areas, such as the 2005 Pakistan earthquake relief, counter-piracy operation in Somalia, 2012 active fence operation in Turkey, and even a military training assistance in Afghanistan.
Are you sure about that?